Most students think Year 11 is when GCSEs really start, but the truth is by then it's often too late. Year 10 is the most important year if you want to get top GCSE science grades, because that's when the foundations are laid. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make Year 10 count by focusing on 3 key steps that will set you up for GCSE success. Hi there, my name is Sylvia Browne. I'm the lead tutor at the Impact Academy. I've helped hundreds of students go from stock or average to confident and top performing in GCSE Maths and Science. Now, here's what I have seen time and time again, is that the students who perform the best in Year 11 are the ones that took Year 10 seriously. So that's why in this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 simple but powerful strategies you can use this summer to strengthen your foundations and start Year 11 ahead of the game. Now, if you are in Year 10, put a comment in the description down below to let me know what your challenges are with GCSE Science right now, and I'll be sure to respond to every one of your comments. So now let's jump into those 3 strategies to build a solid foundation for GCSE success. Imagine you were unwell and you had to go and see the doctor. The doctor will not just throw any medication at you. They would ask you some questions, run some tests, maybe even do a scan before giving you a prescription. Because before they can treat that problem, they need to identify, they need to diagnose that problem before giving you the solution, before giving you a solution. Well, this is exactly the same thing when it comes to GCSE revision. Before you jump into your revision, before you start watching some videos, reading your textbooks, jumping into flashcards, going over your revision guide, you need to stop, take a moment and identify the gaps in your knowledge. You need to identify, firstly, what are the gaps in your knowledge? What are holding you back? And also identify what your strong areas are as well. Without this identification, without this diagnosis, you're simply going to waste time revising what you already know and what you're already comfortable with, and therefore you're going to miss the areas that are actually holding you back. So now you might be asking, well, how do I identify my gaps in the knowledge? There's a couple of ways you can do this. The first way, and a simple enough way, is by using the contents page in your student textbooks or revision guide. You can simply and have a look at the contents page and try to identify, I'm good with this topic or I'm not so good with that topic. It's not the most accurate way, because many times actually sometimes we can think we are not good at something, but we actually are not bad at it. But that's one way. Another way, a bit more accurate, is by using a checklist. So find a checklist for your exact specifications. So if you're doing Excel chemistry, for instance, find the Excel chemistry checklist and go through that checklist. So go through the topics in that checklist. You can give them a tick if you're good with them, or a cross if you need to improve on them, on those topics. Or you can use that red light traffic system. So where red is, I don't know this topic at all. Yellow or amber is, yeah, I get it, but I think I need to improve a little bit. And green, I've mastered. I feel like I've really mastered this topic. I am fine. By doing this, you'll be able to identify the gaps in your knowledge. So the goal is, it doesn't matter which method you use, the goal is really to do something to help you identify the gaps in your knowledge so that you can have clarity on what you need to focus on and not waste time revising what you already know. Now, if you need a template that would help you identify these gaps in your knowledge, then I created the GCSE revision plan template that would help you identify your weaker topics as well as your weaker subjects. I'd help you identify your strengths and pinpoint the subjects that you need to work on, and it would also help you plan and schedule your revision more effectively. So if that's something you're interested in, you can download it free in the description down below. So that's step one, identify your weak topics. Now that you've identified your weak topics, you've identified the gaps in your knowledge, the next step is to focus on the core topics. So that's step two, focus on the core topics. But something very important here is I don't want you to revise everything. Do not try to revise everything. Start with just the core topics that's going to help support your learning by the time you get to year 11. So what do I mean by that? You might have gone through the checklist and or used your contents page of your book and identified, oh, do you know what, genetics, it's not really making sense to me. I don't understand about genetics and inheritance. Don't try to learn genetics and inheritance now. Put it to the side and go back to the basics, to cell biology, gene, DNA. Learn that and understand that first, and then once you've done that, later on, it could be when you start school by year 11, you can then go back to inheritance. Why this is important is that what that means is that when you come back and look at inheritance later, it's going to make so much more sense and you will learn it with speed, right? So trust me on this, it's going to be really, really helpful if you just go back to the basics and make sure you understand them first, because many times that's what trips students up with a sort of quote unquote more complex topics, is actually because they didn't really understand the foundations. So you might be thinking then, what are those key foundational topics that I need to focus on? For biology, generally cell structure, cell transport, and enzymes. So generally just cell biology, chemistry, atomic structure, making sure you know those key terms like atoms, element, compounds, mixtures, periodic table, and if you have some time, bonding as well would be a good one. For physics, energy and electricity is quite helpful as the basics. So these topics act as gateways to the harder ones like genetics, electrolysis, or Newton's law. So strong foundations now equals faster, easier revision later. So you've identified the gaps in your knowledge. You know which topics to focus on. The next step is I want you to use a smart revision method. Simple but smart revision method. Now, when it comes to revision, you don't need a fancy revision system. You just need something that works. And often the simplest method are the ones that are overlooked, but yet the most effective. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a simple and powerful, but often overlooked revision method that will substantially help you with your revision. So here's how it works. The first thing is you need to read over a short section for what you need to learn about. So let's just say you want to learn about the reflex arc. Get your student book, get your revision guide. If you are more of a visual learner, or depending on what the topic is, watch a video about that topic so that you learn and try to learn it actively. Try to make sure you're understanding what is the reflex arc exactly, how does it work, right? So that's your first step. You want to read. Once you've done that, once you've read through it, then cover or put aside what you've read. So imagine, let's just say you used your student book, just move it to the side, put it away from you so you can't see it. And then the third step to that is you now need to recite what you have just learned. And you could do that by just simply blurting it out, just saying it out loud, or by writing it down, right? Simply writing it down step by step. Once you've done that, you can then go back to what you used to revise and just check and see, did you get anything wrong? So I would say if you're not 80% there, then you want to go back and repeat that process again. You don't need to repeat the process in the same day. You could repeat it the next day or the day after. But essentially, it's a very simple process that you want to follow, that it's going to do wonders for your revision and for your learning retention. Because one of the things I hear time and time again from students is, oh, I thought I learned it, but I can't remember. Or I do learn things, but nothing seems to stick. So this simple method that I've just shared with you is going to help things stick. And this method is called the read, cover, recite method. It's active learning and it's powerful. The problem is many students overlook it because it is so simple. So really complex subjects like science don't always need complex strategies. They just need consistent, simple, consistent ones. And it's that consistency that's going to put you ahead of the pack of other students. So now I've gone through those three tips to help you build a solid foundation for your GCSE Science. We've talked about identifying your weak topics. We've talked about focusing on the core topics and also using a smart revision method. There is one important step that I'm going to throw in as a bonus. And if you're one of the students that want to really aim for the top grades and make sure that you get the best that you possibly can, then I highly recommend this last tip. And that is for you to go through all of the practice questions, revision questions, summary questions, end of spread questions in your book. Don't worry about exam papers for now, in your books. So, because once you have revised the topic, the next step is to apply it. So by doing this, by going through all of those questions in your book, it's going to help you solidify and apply your knowledge. And it's also going to help you identify concern areas. So there might be some areas that you've read and you're like, I understood about reflex arc, but actually, I don't think I understand that very much based on some of the questions that I'm getting here. And then what you can do now is ask your teacher, your tutor. You can even use AI tools like ChatGPT to help you out in some of these concepts that still doesn't make any sense to you. So if you really want to get ahead and you have the time, then I really suggest this approach and this tip of going through as many as possible of those questions in your book. Like I said, there's summary questions, exam spread questions, practice questions. There are lots of them. It doesn't matter which specification you're using, there are lots of those questions. So how exactly then should you apply your knowledge for maximum benefit using those practice exam style questions? Well, watch the video coming up next to learn how to answer exam questions for full marks to find out more. All right, I'll see you in the next video. I hope this was helpful. Bye for now.